16th chapter, verses 49 to 55. So, just a quick recap of the story. We all know, of course, that um, there is Chitraketu Maharaj who wants a child, and then he's very much attached to that desire. And then Ankira Muni once visits, and he perceives that Chitraketu wants a child, and so he grants him the boon. But then there is a caveat, which is that the child will bring happiness as well as distress. And then we know that the other queens, except for Kritadyuti, who is the child's mother, they become envious and they poison the little child, and then the child dies. And after the child dies, it's all, it's a great calamity for Chitraketu and everyone in the kingdom. And then we know how Angira Muni and Narad Muni come there, and by his mystic potency, Narad Muni brings back the child to life. Brings the child back to life. And the child actually speaks a lot about detachment from the temporary material body and the things connected to the material body, the relatives, mother, father, etc., etc. So that in that way he invokes a kind of detachment in Chitraketu and his wife and all his wives actually, who thereafter they give up their lamentation. And the wives who poisoned the child, they go and perform austerities to atone for the sin that they committed. They go to the bank of the Yamuna river, it says here. And Chitraketu Maharaj also, he does the last rites, and then he does the last rites, and he receives instructions from Narad Muni, and Narad Muni blesses him with a mantra. And it says here that for 1 week, Chitraketu performs austerity, a lot of austerity, and in that austerity, he performs the austerity so that he can chant the mantra given by Narad Muni with utmost focus. And he does that, and within 1 week, Chitraketu actually gets darshan of Lord Anantashesh. And these are the prayer, and then he offers wonderful prayers to Lord Anantashesh. And while I was reading through this chapter, I could two things actually that I found particularly very nice were, there were many things that I found nice, but just as a recap. So so here he says, in 45 he says, Chitraketu Maharaj says to the Lord, therefore my dear Lord, simply seeing you now has now wiped away all the contamination of sinful activities and the results of material attachment and lusty desires, which always filled my heart, my mind, and the core of my heart. Whatever is predicted by the great sage Narada cannot be otherwise. This is important. In other words, I have obtained your audience as a result of being trained by Narad Muni. So this is Chitraketu Maharaj is exhibiting the qualities of a perfect disciple in one sense. So this is one thing. And then not only this, by the way, this verse reminded me of that verse that Prahlad Maharaj speaks. Evam janam nipatitam prabhavahi kupe kama bhikama manuyat prapatan prasangat kritvatma satsurashina bhagavan grihita soham katham nu visraje tava bhritya sevam. So there also Prahlad Maharaj is being humble, and he is saying, I was falling into a dark pit of illusion, and your servant Narad Muni picked me up from there, and he gave his mercy to me. So how can I not serve him, my Lord? He says. So that all these examples exhibit the ideal quality of a devotee, of a disciple, that we can all try to emulate, that I can try to emulate especially. And then here and subsequently in one of the verses, the Lord also says that because you followed the instructions of Narad Muni, that is why you're getting this mercy. Let me find out. Yeah. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Anantadev, replied as follows: O King, as a result of your having accepted the instructions spoken about me by the great sages Narada and Angira, you have become completely aware of transcendental knowledge. So here the Lord is also accepting that it is because of the mercy of the Guru, it is because of the mercy of the Vaishnavas that Chitraketu is receiving this wonderful darshan, wonderful mercy of the Lord. So this reminds me of Bhagavad Gita also, where Krishna is saying tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnanina sattvadarshina. The tattvadarshis, or the seers of the truth, they will show you the truth. Just approach them with submissiveness, humility, and service attitude, and inquire submissively from them, and they will show you the truth. So like these two aspects I found really nice. Something that the respect for Guru, the devotion towards Guru is emphasized everywhere. So it's not just within Gaudiya Vaishnavism, it is not just within the Puranic traditions, it is also in the Upanishadic traditions. Prabhupada used to quote this verse a lot: Yasya deve parabhaktir yatha deve tatha gurau tasyaite kathitaya artha prakashante mahatmanah. One who has Yasya deve parabhaktir, bhakti towards the Lord, yatha deve tatha gurau, and equal amount of bhakti towards the Guru as well. Only to such a person prakashante mahatmanah, the purports of the Vedic knowledge will be revealed. So with that background in mind, and with offering obeisances to our gurus, we'll go to this section. Here the Lord is continuing with his response to Chitraketu Maharaj's prayers, and these are fairly technical verses, especially the first and second verse is very technical. So I've tried to read it multiple times, but I am unable to make sense of it. I mean, make sense of it as in read it, I mean, understand it properly. So yeah, I guess that's the background. And so Nupur Mataji, you want to recite this? And
Yes, Roji. Hare Krishna, Roji. Hare Krishna, everyone. Text 56. Ubhyam smarita pumsa rasvapa pratibodaya anpeti vyati rachiyeta tajjnanam brahma tatparam. Translation. If one's dreams during sleep are merely subject matters witnessed by the supersoul, how can the living entity, who is different from the supersoul, remember the activities of dreams? The experiences of one person cannot be understood by another. Therefore, the knower of the facts, the living entity who inquires into the incidents manifested in dreams and wakefulness, is different from the circumstantial activities. That knowing factor is Brahman. In other words, the quality of knowing belongs to the living entities and to the supersoul. Thus, the living entity can also experience the activities of dreams and wakefulness. In both stages, the knower is unchanged but is qualitatively one with the Supreme Brahman. Purport: in knowledge, the living entity is qualitatively one with Supreme Brahman, but the quantity of the Supreme Brahman is not the same as that of the living entity who is part of Brahman. But the living entity is Brahman in quality. He can remember the past activities of dreams and also know the present activity of wakefulness. Hare Krishna. Yeah, I do not have much to share, Roji. Like as you said, is this is bit technical. Just with the first line of the purport, I remembered that Tvamasi, even though it is like impersonalist phrase, like how Bhaiya explained it to me was like in the same manner, like we are one with like Supreme Lord qualitatively, but quantitatively we are very, very, very small, infinitely minuscule. So yeah, he mentioned that. But about the rest of the verse, I would really like to hear like, what it exactly means.
Tattvamasi is interesting. I think we discussed this yesterday during Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah, we discussed it few days ago, Prabhuji. Yes.
Yeah, Tattvamasi is very interesting. Yeah. So actually, who all are there? Maybe I can quickly share about Tattvamasi. Should I share about Tattvamasi?
Yes, Prabhu, go ahead, go ahead.
So,
Please.
so here is the thing, right? Let's see. Okay, let's see. So the impersonalists, they say Tattvamasi, right? Tattvamasi is there. Can you see my Google Doc?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah. So they say Tattvamasi. Okay. Tat is that. Tvam is you. Asi is are, like, right? So the way they translate is you are that. Okay. So this indicates oneness, right? Now this is what the impersonalists say. Okay. You are that. They say that Tattvamasi is a Mahavakya. Mahavakyas are, according to them, like there are 4 Mahavakyas. I think Aham Brahmasmi is one of them. Then Tattvamasi is one more, and there are 2 more. So they say that these 4 Mahavakyas actually encapsulate the whole Advaita philosophy, and in fact they encapsulate the entire Vedantic philosophy, and they interpret these 4 Mahavakyas as in an impersonal way. They say that the Lord is impersonal, or everything is Brahman, we are all one, and things like that. So one, and out of these 4 Mahavakyas, this Mahavakya Tattvamasi is considered as very important for them to prove their philosophy, to prove their approach towards the absolute truth. So this is what the um, translation is. So now, looking at it, it makes perfect sense, right? Tat is that, right? Tat means that. Tvam is you, and Asi means are, right? So a straightforward translation is definitely this. So how do you think the Vaishnavas would have translated this? Any ideas as to how this can or rather, if somebody comes and tells you tomorrow, Tattvamasi is a Mahavakya, you are that means you are God, you are the absolute truth. So how will you discuss with them? How will
The
you
Vaishnavas would say, that you are means like everything around me is Krishna. That you are.
As in, I didn't get that, Prabhuji.
So that you are, like if I'm seeing something, that you are, like that is Krishna.
Like you is
everything
capital. You is
Huh?
capital. You're saying you is capital, right?
Yeah,
Why?
that you are. Yeah. So that you are. So that you are means like
So that saying that T is not capital, but U is capital.
No, yeah. So remember that in Sanskrit, there is no such thing as capital and small.
yeah.
Yeah. In Sanskrit, everything is small.
So yeah, I don't know. I think that's what I was thinking.
No, but even if you go by this, that you are, if you say, so everything around you, if you say you are, so that means everything around you is Brahman.
Is yeah, but everything around you is Krishna. So everything around you is, but I won't say Brahman. I would say Krishna. That's the difference.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good attempt at.
Krishnan Prabhu. Krishnan Prabhu is expert in this. Please.
Not really, Prabhu. I think I would have also, what is that verse in the Bhagavad Gita in chapter 9 where
Oh my God, Krishna.
You tell me some keywords, I'll search.
That we are all. It'll come to me. Give me a couple of minutes. Basically, all beings are in me, but I'm not in them.
Oh.
Oh,
Sarvam Jagata Vyakta Murti Namasthani Sarvabhutani. This one, right? And yet everything that is created does not rest in me. Sorry,
This one. Yeah, the previous one. Yes. Yeah.
By me in my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them, right?
But I'm not in them. So we are, we are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord.
Yeah.
And but the Supreme Lord also gives us, complete independence within our restricted, within our restricted purview. Just as a father gives a child independence to do while the while the father has his best. So we are qualitatively, we are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, and
qualitatively is not needed. We are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, but the Lord also gives us our own independence.
Right.
Yeah, that is one nice way, definitely. Yeah. Okay, so okay, there are devotees joining in. Okay, so right, so these are nice approaches. Any more approaches, or any more hints towards more approaches?
I mean, this could be also like just playing around the words here, like just the three words that you are, or you are that. We can even instead of the you being the jivas, the you could be. I mean, we are just looking at the Lord and saying, you are that Supreme Lord. So that.
That doesn't. That's not the context of the verse. So the context. I'll tell you the context of the verse. The context of the verse is that one sage or one brahmana is instructing his son, who is apparently, I wouldn't say given up, but he's become proud of his position. Okay. And that father is instructing his son. And during his instructions to his son, he utters this phrase called Tattvamasi. So here he's referring to the child to whom he's talking to by Tvam.
Got it.
Yeah. So that is the context of the. One way we can do it is playing with the words is, are you that? Right.
Yeah, that was my other thing, but then it's not in the form of a question, so I gave that up.
Yeah. So. Yeah. But we can put it here. Okay. So I'll tell you how the Vaishnavas do this, okay, which is really brilliant. So Madhvacharya, he was a very strong proponent of Vaishnavism. And he used everything, Upanishads and Vedas and everything, and he came to the exact opposite conclusion of the impersonalists. He said that, everything is not one. There is duality. The Lord and the Jiva are always separate. So that's why if you see a picture of Madhvacharya, he's doing this, right? He has his two fingers like this, which is Dvaita. So that is the meaning of that, Dvaita. So he was a very strong proponent of Dvaita. So when he was he translated this Tattvamasi, he did a very nice thing. So what he employed a construct of Sanskrit called as Shashti Tatpurusha Samas. Okay, this is just a technical thing, but it's a Sanskrit construct. So what he did was, sorry, we are spending too much time on this, I know. So what he did, so what this means is that when you say Guru Patni, okay, for instance, when you say Guru Patni, so what does this mean? Guru means Guru, okay, and Patni means wife, right? So the complete meaning, the direct meaning of this word Guru Patni is wife of the Guru. Okay, so he applied this construct to Tattvam. Okay, so he said in Tattvam, Tat is that, Tvam is you. So applying that construct, the translation is not you are that, but you are of that. And what are you of that? A devotee, is what Madhvacharya said. You understood the thing here, how he turned the meaning. I take the silence to mean that,
So you are of that.
yeah.
The way I'm now we've heard in classes that the living entity is the marginal energy of the Supreme Lord.
Yes.
And so how do you interpret of? So we
you
belong to, is this like the living entity belongs to the Supreme Lord? Is that the way to think of it?
Yeah, you can. So once you say off, then you can interpret off in many ways. You can say you are a devotee of that, you are an energy of that, you are a part and parcel of that, which you mentioned already, right? But once you say you are of that, you're clearly making a distinction between you and that. So this translation goes away, right? So that was the brilliance of Madhvacharya. He did that.
Got it.
Yeah. And there is one more thing here. What happens is, this verse, the way it comes is, there are 4 lines in the verse, and then this line comes like this, like there is an a before that, and then tat tvam asi. So actually this is too complicated. I'll not go into this. Sorry. But yeah, basically this is, so when Lord Chaitanya heard this translation, he was very disturbed. He said, what is this going on? I don't want to hear it. Then I think it was Gadadhar Pandit or somebody who was reciting Bhagavatam. That time he said that, no, this is the meaning. You are of that. And then Mahaprabhu was pacified. So, like that. Anyway, coming back to our verse. So any more reflections on this?
The other verse that this reminds me of, is Krishna's, in chapter 4, Krishna's statement to Arjuna that I remember all my past lives, but you don't, right?
Yeah,
I can remember all of them, but
yes, this one. Many births both you and I have passed. I can remember all of them, but you cannot, O subduer of enemy.
Right. So you cannot remember your past births, but obviously you can remember your dreams. So we have finite memory, whereas Krishna's memory is infinite. Every birth or every form he has taken, he remembers.
Yeah.
Just to show the how small we are compared to Krishna.
Right. Yeah, very nice reflection, Prabhuji. Yeah, this verse of the Gita also is in response to a question by Arjuna. When Krishna starts the 4th chapter by saying that I instructed this imperishable science of yoga to the sun god, and then son Vivaswan, and Vivaswan instructed it to Manu instructed it to Ikshvaku and things like that. And then Arjuna asks, but sun god Vivaswan is senior by birth to you. How am I to understand that in the beginning you instructed this science to him? That time Krishna says that many births both you and I have passed. I can remember all of them, but you cannot. So yeah, this is also a famous verse. Bahuni me vyatitani janmani tavacha Arjuna. Yeah. Okay.
No.
If no more reflections, we'll move on.
Can I read the next one?
Sure, please.
57, verse 57.
Yeah.
So I won't read the Sanskrit, I'll read the translation. When a living entity, thinking of himself different from me, forgets his spiritual identity of qualitative oneness with me in eternity, knowledge and bliss, his material conditional life begins. In other words, instead of identifying his interest in mine, instead of identifying his interest with mine, he becomes interested in his bodily expansions like his wife, children, and material possessions. In this way, by the influence of his actions, one body comes from another. And after one death, another death takes place. Purport. Generally, the Mayavadi philosophers or persons influenced by Mayavadi philosophers think of themselves as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the cause of their conditional life. As stated by the Vaishnava poet Jagadananda Pandita in his Prema Vivarta, Krishna Bahirmukha Ana Bhoga Vancha Kare Nikatastha Maya Tare Japatiya Dhare. As soon as a living entity forgets his constitutional position and endeavors to become one with the Supreme, his conditional life begins. The conception that the Supreme Brahman and the living entity are equal, not only in quality but also in quantity, is the cause of conditional life. If one forgets the difference between the Supreme Lord and the living entity, his conditioned life begins. Conditional life means giving up one body to accept another and undergoing death to accept death again. The Mayavadi philosopher teaches the philosophy of Tattvamasi, saying you are the same as God. He forgets that Tattvamasi applies in terms of the marginal position of the living entity who is like sunshine. There is heat and light in the sun, and there is heat and light in the sunshine. Thus, they are qualitatively one. But one should not forget that the sunshine rests on the sun. As the Lord says in the Bhagavad Gita, Brahmano hi pratisthanam. I am the original source of Brahman. The sunshine is important because of the presence of the sun globe. It is not the sun globe is important because of the all-pervasiveness of the sunshine. Forgetfulness and misunderstanding of this fact is called Maya. Because of forgetfulness of one's constitutional position and that of the Supreme Lord, one comes into Maya or samsara, conditional life. In this regard, Madhvacharya says, Sarva Binnam Paratmanam Vismaram Samsaredtha. I'll skip the Sanskrit. When one thinks that the living entity is non-different in all respects from the Supreme Lord, there is no doubt that he is in ignorance. Tama. Very powerful words, and I think Srila Prabhupada is reminding us that our material life is because of the forgetfulness of our constitutional position, which is that we are eternal servants of the Lord. And we take this life, the material life, to be the truth, at least for me, we take it to be the truth, whereas we forget our constitutional position. And that's all that I wanted to share. This is all I can think of right now, and it's a very, very powerful verse. I have to read through it and reflect on it again, especially the part about the sunshine and the sun, and which is I heard this in a class the other day. I think it was Radhanath Maharaj saying this, which is, can you imagine the amount of sunshine or sun rays that come out from the sun every second? And can you imagine how many sun rays have come since the beginning of time from the same sun? And but the sun is still there. And so that is a comparison of our living, of the living entity, each compared to the sun. That's how infinitesimally small we are compared to the sun. That's how, we are infinitesimally small compared to the Lord.
Very nice, Prabhuji. Very nice reflection. I feel less bad about covering Tattvamasi after reading this purport, which has Tattvamasi here, which Prabhupada explained. So I feel less bad about taking everyone's time on that. Yeah, this is also.
I was thinking you were sorry. Yeah, you actually foresaw this and then you preempted this.
I didn't foresee. Nupur Mataji foresaw. I just followed her suit. Yeah, this is also very important verse. Krishna Bahirmukha Haya Bhoga Vancha Kare Nikatastha Maya Atare Japati Adhare. Yeah, any other reflections on this? Okay. I can read this one. Labdveha manushim yonim jnana vijnana sambhavam atmanam yona buddhyeta nakvachit kshemam apnuyat. Translation: a human being can attain perfection in life by self-realization through the Vedic literature and its practical application. This is possible, especially for a human being born in India, the land of piety. A man who obtains birth in such a convenient position but does not understand his self is unable to achieve the highest perfection, even if he is exalted to life in the higher planetary systems. Purport. This statement is confirmed in Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi 9.41. Lord Chaitanya said, Bharat Bhumi te haila manusya janma yar, janma sarthaka kari kara para upkar. Everyone born in India, especially as a human being, can achieve supreme success through the Vedic literature and its practical application in life. When one is perfect, he can render a service for the self-realization of the entire human society. That is the best way to perform humanitarian work. So, yeah, I mean, whether born in India or not, definitely, if we have the chance to come across devotees and get this knowledge, then that's fortune in itself, supreme fortune. But especially being born in India, we all definitely have that facility, and just like every facility, every facility comes with a responsibility. So the facility of getting spiritual knowledge of self-realization easily comes with the responsibility that after we get it, we should share it with others. So that is what is being said here. And Prabhupada very nicely quotes Lord Chaitanya in the purport. And yeah, so many things, being born in India, so many things come to us just out of cultural affinity. We don't have to struggle to understand, spiritual concepts and things like that. We have been hearing these stories, we've been hearing these concepts since our childhood. So when we come to devotees, then it's more of just, switching our compass, from materialism to, I wouldn't say switching, but at least turning a little bit towards spirituality. And once we do that, then the other things are very they fall in place because we have that cultural background with us. So that is the reason I feel very appreciative of these Western devotees who take up so nicely, because they don't have any clue from their family culture, from their upbringing, no clue whatsoever about Krishna, about Vedas, about anything. But still they take up in such a nice way and inspire everyone. It's really touches my heart, and really appreciative of that. So, I mean, in India, we see so many youths and people who know all this, but still are unable to take up to this process. But there are these Westerners who don't have any clue, but still out of their devotion, they take it up. So it's really nice to see. Any other reflections on this?
I'll quickly chime in. This I think we have discussed this before. When one is perfect, he can render a service for self-realization of the entire human society. This is the best way to perform humanitarian work. So, I think we have discussed this before, why Srila Prabhupada didn't encourage starting of hospitals and other things. And, one way to look at it is he's addressing the root cause, which is the self-realization of the entire human society. And with that, by addressing this root cause, every other humanitarian work will automatically get done, but the root cause will be addressed.
Very well said, Prabhuji. So there is one nice verse that I had recently lokatapena. So here Prabhupada says that when one is perfect, he can render a service for the self-realization of the entire human society. This is the best way to perform humanitarian work. So this verse, which I'll show here, talks about how a sadhu who is perfect in his own devotional service, he not only renders service so that everyone can be self-realized, but he takes risks for that. He accepts suffering for that. So this is that verse. It is said that great personalities almost always accept voluntary suffering because of the suffering of people in general. This is considered as the highest method of worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is present in everyone's heart. So this is very nice verse, I thought. I mean, we see so many devotees who are very pure. They accept voluntary suffering, right? He said just today, Radhanath Maharaj left New York to go to Europe. So I was talking to Aishwarya the other day how difficult it is for him who is not a young 25-year-old boy. He's more than 70, and he's traveling around the world frequently and initiating disciples, and giving classes, and solving issues everywhere. And just on a practical level, if we think about it, different kinds of prasad, like different cuisines everywhere, different kind of water everywhere, different kind of time zone everywhere, different kind of weather everywhere, different kind of people everywhere, different temples having different priorities. So much he must be going through. Not only him, so many other devotees we see who preach everywhere, they undergo so much. I mean, for example, I myself, when I go to India or I come back from India to the US, I need like 1 week to recuperate and come back to my normal state of life cycle, like the whole this thing, day and night cycles. And that is 1 week, and then within that 1 week, I don't know what all problems I might get some cold and cough, or I might get diarrhea, whatnot. So just and then you have these you have people like Prabhupada who travel the globe 14 times in 11 years, giving Krishna consciousness to everyone. And you have people like all these devotees today who are traveling everywhere, giving Krishna consciousness. I mean, you just think about Jayapataka Swami. He's in such a state, and recently he was admitted. I don't know, I didn't get any update after that. 2 days ago, or maybe yesterday, we got an update that he's admitted in the hospital in Chennai. So he's undergoing so much trouble for fulfilling the instructions of Prabhupada and giving Krishna to so many people, right? But yeah, it is categorically being mentioned here that is the highest method of worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it is like Parama Aradhanam. So yeah. Anyway, that is just a small reflection that I had. Any other thoughts on this?
Yeah, I was also looking at that word when that sentence that Krishnan Prabhu read in the purport, last sentence. When one is perfect, he can render service for self-realization. So just wanted to, like when I see this word self-realization, it just takes me back to those days where I was looking at a flyer for self-realization from Mayavadis, and then I would be like, wow, okay, let me go. And then there will be no talk about anything but saying that you can also become God. And I'm God, you're God, we're all God, and we have the potential to become God. So once you become that is self-realization. So you merge into that self. So
that is self-realization. Whereas Prabhupada's mentioning what is self-realization is nothing but God realization, realizing that we are not this body, we are the spirit soul. And just do, like, how can this be rendering a service for the entire humanity? It means a lot. The first process I mentioned about the impersonalist, that doesn't render so much of a humanitarian service. Okay, you can become God, but how are you going to help the human society with that knowledge? That you can one day become that. That one day may not come in this lifetime, in some other lifetime or whatever. But the fact that the Krishna conscious way of understanding the self-realization is that I am not the body, but I'm the spirit soul, alleviates one of all the material things, the insults that other people throws on us, or the sufferings, or anything that comes by our way. We can just think, we can just look at it in a very different perspective. If we think that we are not the body, of course it's very difficult to immediately think that, oh, I'm not the body, but it is obtainable. It is reasonably obtainable through, there is a process by which Prabhupada explains how it is. We can understand the process of reincarnation, karma, then how this particular lifetime is just a blip in the whole eternity of our many lifetimes that we are here. I mean, in that concept, kind of everything makes sense. And if we give this particular knowledge to the entire human society, then that is humanitarian service, and that makes sense. But the concept, the concept by which the majority of the people in India are understanding the self-realization is actually incorrect, so to speak, because get attracted by those flyers that come by the way, that this is the course for self-realization, and then we go there, and then yeah, it's all Maya. Yeah, that which doesn't exist.
Nice, Mother. Thank you for the beautiful reflection. Yeah, truly, I mean, it is in India, it's very different. As you said, it's I mean, I would say there are two extremes in India. One is the karma kandi kind of mentality, wherein you material success is everything, and even utilizing spiritual potencies or spiritual resources to achieve material prosperity. That is one extreme. And the other extreme, of course, is this, that all that is just a waste of time. You are God and you have to realize it. And yeah, definitely that is there. Yeah.
But if you go to the Bhagavad Gita, Arthi, Artharthi, Jigyasu, Jnani, all four Krishna likes them.
Yes.
So he sees this as an evolution.
Yes.
We all have to, I think we all have to go through this, we have to go through this journey. Some of us may be in the Arthi, or Artharthi phase in life. It's very difficult to hop, skip, and jump and go to the the Dhyani phase. It's and it's like a continuum. The nation is will have a mix of people. Everybody will be different. Just as India has a different mix of people, the US has a different mix of people, and But I think going with the previous verse, the India has the, or actually this verse, India has the piety and the understanding that will make it possible.
Mm.
So even though it feels sometimes when I go to India now, it feels like, oh my God, is this the India that I left? Because it looks so much more materialistic
Mm.
than the India that I was in. But that's okay. There'll be blips here and there. They will fall away, but hopefully they'll not fall too far out, and they'll come back because the temples are still functioning.
Yes.
There is devotion still there in the air. There is channels with like Astha TV and others with spiritual stuff regularly going on. So the avenues are there in India, where unlike here, there is almost no avenues here. If you're not in the company of devotees here, you are in the company of Maya in the United States.
Yeah.
You have no option here. Whereas there, just the environment around you has some devotion, even though people feel materialistic nowadays.
Mm. Yeah, very well said, Prabhu. That is true. If in its original form, the Indian culture is very nice. Actually, it can gradually, organically, grow a person to the highest perfection. That is true, definitely. Yeah, and as you said, I hope even this whole misinterpretation of Bhagavad Gita that is happening in the form of any kind of a new age kind of a philosophy where you will become God and stuff like that. You are the master of everything. There is I had seen one again when Mataji spoke about flyers. In relation to that, I had seen a book in Pune. In Pune, there is a locality called as Appa Balwant Chowk. So it's like a chowk is a choraha, and this Appa Balwant Choraha in Pune is very famous for books. Any books you want, you can go and get there. Engineering, sciences, architecture, you name it, and you get it there. So that is the place for books. One day I had gone there to get some books, and I saw one novel kept in the kept on display, and on that it was written स्वार्थ हा माझा जन्मसिद्ध हक्क आहे आणि तो मी मिळवणारच. Okay, what that meant is swarth is selfishness is my birthright and I shall have it. Okay, so this, I think Lokmanya Tilak had said this statement, Swaraj or freedom is my birthright and I shall have it. So this guy, the writer of the novel, I think in order to get more attention, the tagline of his novel was selfishness is my birthright and I shall have it. And I was thinking, wow, I was not even a devotee that time, and still I thought, wow, he's trying to seem as if he's very profound, but he's making a fool of himself, I thought, by saying such things. Yeah, in India, it's unfortunately these blips have become many, and as you said, I hope these blips don't become too many and they just go away with time.
Yeah, completely agree, Prabhu, and that is why the work of the Vaishnavas and the God conscious people, the tireless work of the God conscious and Krishna conscious folks, has a positive effect. The temples are also growing. There are more people with this positive attitude. But yeah, of course, the people who write books like that also are there. That is that we can't do much about.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody takes them seriously. I mean, on the first sight, I didn't like it. I didn't even touch the book.
Yeah, there are people who do anything and everything, right? There is evil in the world, obviously, this is, I don't think you can classify that as evil, but
It's not evil. Yeah.
but it is, it is moving away from God. When you celebrate, selfishness or something, it is moving away from God. The other thought that I had is, and this may be controversial, but even with this new age, people who come and quote unquote sell spirituality in a capsule, make it easy for people to consume it. Sometimes I think that something is better than nothing. There is a market that is created for these new age gurus because people don't like the ritualistic way of religion.
Yeah.
And one reason why they're going to these gurus is because there is an element of spirituality in them. They are just a little misguided, but they are in the right direction. At least they're moving somewhere, in the right direction. There are two directions you can go. Either you can go away from God or you can go towards God. They're in the wrong direction, but at least they are a little bit towards God. And through that, they will eventually, in a few lifetimes, they will meet a devotee, and they will find, they will find the true knowledge.
Yeah. Very true, Prabhu. Yeah. Again, one more funny example. I remember I was distributing books in Pune. This was initially, I think in 2013, mostly it was. I was just maybe a year into the Association of Devotees, and I didn't know, I knew the philosophy, but I didn't know how to convince people, or I don't even know now how to convince people. But how to, at least question when they question us, at least we should be able to counter question them, right? I didn't have all that. And so I was distributing Bhagavad Gita as it is, and one guy comes up to me and says, do you know I'm God? And he seemed as if he was drunk. His eyes were all red, and he came to me and said, do you know I'm God? I said, really, you are God? He said, yes, I'm God. What are you doing distributing all these books and all? I don't need all that. I'm God, he said. I said, okay. Because I didn't have much, philosophical knowledge that time. I just walked away from there rather than arguing with him. And I didn't want to get into a scuffle or anything because he seemed that kind of a person. So yeah, there are all these kind of people in India. Yeah.
But we also have to pick and choose our battles, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
It is, where is it? Where is our time? Where is your time and your energy well spent is also critical.
Yeah, choosing battles. Yeah, that is true. We have to choose our battles. Okay, any other reflections on this? Very beautiful reflection shared by everyone. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you, Krishnan Prabhu. Okay, if not, let's move ahead. Nupur Mataji, you want to?
Yes, Raja. Text 59.
Nitya also said she can read, Prabhuji. Nitya, Krishnan Prabhu, Nupur, three of them.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Nitya Mataji, please, if you.
Yeah, yeah. Ritvihayam sorry, it's too small for me here.
Should I zoom in?
I can do it also. Okay, yeah, this is good. Thank you. Smritvehayam pariklesham tatapala viparyayam abhyam chapi anihayam sankalpadikramet kavi. Translation: remembering the great trouble found in the field of activities performed for fruitive results, and remembering how one receives the reverse of the results one did, whether from material actions or from the fruitive activities recommended in the Vedic literatures. And intelligent man should cease from the desire for fruitive actions, for by such desire endeavors one cannot achieve the ultimate goal of life. On the other hand, if one acts without desires for fruit results, in other words, if one engages in devotional activities, he can achieve the highest goal of life with freedom from miserable conditions. Considering this, one should cease from material desires.
You want to read the next one too?
Yes, bro. Sukaya dukkam makshaya kurvate dampati kriya tato nivritir apraptir dukshkasya cha sukasya cha. Translation: and as husband and wife, a man plan together to attain happiness and decrease unhappiness, working jointly in many ways. But their activities are full of desires. These activities are never a source of happiness, and they never diminish distress. On the contrary, they are a cause of great unhappiness.
Lections, Mataji, on this and or the previous.
Yeah. So yeah, this is definitely the theme that we've been reading about in the Bhagavad Gita also, is that about the goal of life, and how we should always strive for adding Krishna to whatever we do, rather than enjoying or performing activities outside of Krishna, or doing something that gives us enjoyment, excluding Krishna in the picture. So of course, when we're actually performing even the devotional service, so to say, when we're actually performing the work, we may not be actively thinking about it, but we can always be grateful for the seva, either at the seva or at the end, or even the fact that just offering a, let me not become too proud because of this, or I offer the results of my activities or actions of the seva unto your lotus feet, Lord. So the same thing can be done for our work also, or the work in the sense that the work in this material world. Whatever we do, we can always offer it ahead of time or after, because we may not have time to think about during the particular work. So we can always say that yes, I've given my best. Let's say, be it an interview or a tough presentation at work, or anything of that matter. We can always think that I've done my best, I've given my best. Now it's up to you, Krishna. Thank you for giving, making me say those words. Or if it didn't go very well, still it could have been worse. Just being grateful for whatever the thing is, and even if things doesn't go our way, maybe it's the will of the Lord. So something that keeps us constantly in remembrance of the Lord, rather than thinking that, oh, I must have done this, I must have done this. Yes, that is good to introspect one's actions so that we can improve ourselves. But at the same time, introspect from the spiritual eye as well is needed. I think that's what it's not like we always, if one cannot always 100% perform devotional service in this material world. We are all not performing at this level of sannyasi or a brahmachari where we only do devotional service, but we have to also perform in this material world. So Prabhupada is saying that one makes our goal the highest goal of life, with thinking that having that as a goal, everything else seems to be kind of what do you call, not, we won't give so much importance to the happiness and distress, or the dualities that bring about the activities in the material world. Also, when I read about the third line from the last, he can achieve the highest goal of life with freedom from miserable conditions. I've been reading this, the quote from Maharaj, from Radhanath Swami Maharaj recently. The greatest independence is our dependence on the Lord. The more we depend on the Lord, the more independent we become. The independent in the sense it's the freedom that Prabhupada is talking about here. It's the freedom from these miserable conditions. So once we get free from the miserable conditions, how we get free from the miserable conditions is to completely depend on Krishna, increase our dependency. It's a kind of oxymoronical one sense, like how can dependence bring about independence? But it's very true that the more we increase the dependence with Krishna, it brings about independence from the material dualities. The same thing that gives happiness, that very same thing few days later or a little bit later brings about distress. And again, some other things, it just keeps going and going and going like this. As for the next verse, also I think keeping Krishna in the center is the goal for a couple, for a husband and wife. I think again it talks about attaining happiness and decreasing unhappiness. If they are full of material desires, then the same activities are a source of happiness, and then they cause unhappiness. They bring about distress. I think the point here is that if we keep Krishna in the center of activities in the married life, then one can engage for the pleasure of the Lord, rather than thinking about what is our happiness or our unhappiness. The same concept again, I think applies for this also, the previous verse. That's all I can think of.
Thank you, Mataji. Very nice reflections. Prabhupada, initially when he spoke about the 4 regulative principles, he said these are 4 regulative principles of freedom. And then, devotees were confused. How come, Prabhupada is saying 4 regulative principles of freedom, but then if you see the principles, then what are they? No meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, no illicit sex. So it's all no, 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 no. How is that freedom? Devotees would wonder. So, as you said, the freedom is from the miserable conditions of life. That is what those regulative principles are meant for. So, yeah, very nice, Mataji.
Yeah, in that sense, I just wanted to say that recently we talked to one of our mentees, and how to take these regulative principles in a positive way, right? So each one of them, like, no meat eating, no gambling, no intoxication, and no illicit sex. Instead of saying no to that, actually each one of them represents the four kind of the legs of the bull, right? So the truthful, mercy, cleanliness, and austerity.
Yeah.
So we say yes to all of these four by saying no to all of those four. So it is actually the way we see it. It could also be different. Yeah.
Beautiful one.
I think each one of them represents one thing. I think austerity is
Intoxication, no intoxication.
Yes, and illicit sex is cleanliness.
Gambling is truthfulness.
Gambling is truthfulness.
Mercy.
And meat eating is mercy. Yeah. Compassion. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember reading this in some Prabhupada book, small Prabhupada book. The 4 pillars of Dharma in Vedic life are these 4, and the 4 regulative principles correspond to each of them. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, this 60th verse, how a husband and wife should work together to give Krishna consciousness to others. You and Prabhuji set a very nice example for this. So thank you for that. And yeah, we just have 1 minute. What do you suggest we do, Prabhuji? We still have 5 verses to cover.
I feel that the other verses don't have long purports, Prabhu. Or I think most of them don't have purports at all, actually.
Yeah, no, none of them have purports.
So do you want to
Maybe we can just read the translations
Yeah,
alone.
just read the translations and we can finish it up, because from next week I want to do something different to encourage everyone else to join.
Okay. So we are not going more into, because this pastime is very long, right?
Yeah, so we have finished 3 chapters, 14, 15, 16. And I'm thinking if we should do, even if we continue to do the 17th one, where she's cursed, where Chitraketu is cursed by Mother Parvati, but we'll do it in a different format, I feel, to encourage everyone to join. I'm thinking still, I don't know.
Okay.
So yeah, let's read the translations and end.
Sure. Nupur Mataji, you want to read this one, 61, 62?
Yes, Roger. One should understand that the activities of persons who are proud of their material experience bring only results contradictory to those such person conceive while awake, sleeping, and deeply sleeping. One should further understand that the spirit soul, although very difficult for the materialist to perceive, is above all these conditions, and by strength of one's discrimination, one should give up the desire for fruitive results in the present and in the next. Thus, becoming experienced in transcendental knowledge, one should become my devotee.
Any quick one-line reflection? No pressure.
Nothing is coming to my mind, Prabhuji.
Sorry. Yeah, okay. Krishnan Prabhu, you want to do this one? I think you're muted, Prabhuji.
Sorry. Persons who try to reach the ultimate goal of life must expertly observe the supreme absolute person and the living entity, who are one in quality in their relationship as part and whole. This is the ultimate understanding of life. There is no better truth than this. I think we have discussed this already, and it also reminds me of one more verse, 15:7 in the Bhagavad Gita, which is Mame Vamsho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana.
Yeah.
So next is 64. Mataji? Or Jagannath Prabhu.
Okay, let me just do this. O King, if you accept this conclusion of mine, being unattached to material enjoyment, adhering to me with great faith, and thus becoming proficient and fully aware of knowledge and its practical application in life, you will achieve the highest perfection by attaining me. Yeah. This practical application in life, this practical application had come somewhere in the past also, past as in one of the previous verses. It's important that we not only understand the knowledge, but also its practical application. And for that, we need to approach a living tradition, that is a Guru and the Vaishnavas. That's all. Nitya Mataji, you want to?
Yes, sir. Sri Sukadev Goswami continued. After thus instructing Chitraketu and assuring him of perfection in this way, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the Supreme Spiritual Master, the Supreme Soul, Sankarshana, disappeared from that place as Chitraketu looked on. As in the purport of the 6th canto, 16th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam entitled Chitraketu meets the Supreme.
So yeah,
There's
thank you.
nothing,
Sorry,
yeah.
You want to say
There's
something?
nothing. No. I mean, I just said there's nothing much to be said in this. Yeah, please go on.
So thank you so much, Jagannath Gopal Prabhu. I mean, brilliant. I mean, when you lead, it's so sweet. So thank you so much for starting with Tattvamasi and talking about how we can ultimately meet Krishna in the end with these wonderful verses. Thank you so much. So, yeah, go ahead, Prabhu. You wanted to say something?
No, I was just going to say sorry for going into too much technicalities.
No, it was perfect because even Srila Prabhupada mentions it in the next verse itself. So it was very well.
No, actually, it's good for for
Yeah.
all of us to know about this actually, because it's very important to know how to. It's not about just defeating; it's about how do we understand ourselves about that
Yes.
philosophy.
Yes. Yeah. I feel it is important because at some point we have to, like for me personally, the way it happened is I took up the practice and then at one point I started, going deep and really questioning that, okay, there are so many purports claim that this is the best path, highest path, but is it really the highest? So then when I got into that aspect, then all these things were very useful for me to strengthen my faith. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Very nice discussion today. And thank you so much, Jagannath Gopal Prabhu, for leading this
Thank you,
discussion.
Prabhu.
Thank you, Jagannath Gopal Prabhu. Vanchakapatarupisya kripa sindhubhyo patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Praise Jagannath Gopal Prabhu ki jai.
Jai.
Yeah.